Okay. I am calling to order the February 15th special meeting of the EDC. Our agenda is simply is one item, which is old business, to assess the revised marketing proposal for the marketing major grant. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
John, is this the only thing we're talking about today?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? No, hearing none. Are there any citizen comments? And we can take citizen comments during the course of the discussion, time permitting. Are there any citizen comments on any other topic? And when we get into the topic, I'll start with a citizen comment from one post onto the website, which isn't in a discussion forum. So it comes in as a comment on the website, which comes to me in an email. So I'll read that to you in a minute. So no citizen comments. We don't have any agenda. We don't have any minutes to approve. So let's just start with the discussion. And I will start with a comment, a citizen comment, basically, but let me just pull it up. Sorry, I said that I would read it. It's somewhat lengthy. I'm sorry, I was a little late. This 8 a.m. It's not a good time to meet, but I was the one that proposed it. So. Okay, this is from Elizabeth Reeves, who we all know is a former member of the EDC. And this is long, but it'll only take about 3 minutes to read. And then Patrick, I'll turn it over to you to present it. Comment: 2 years ago, I was standing in the driveway of a Woodstock resident who had donated their Airbnb as temporary housing for the new program administered for the community campus, an after-school care provider for K-4 graders. He had just driven across the country to take a new job with no home. People weren't willing to rent to us because they could get better rates for short-term rentals. Anything that was available for rent was either unlivable 50 miles away or too expensive. There wasn't a single house on the market for under $500,000. If it hadn't been for the knowledgeable resources at Woodstock Housing Trust, we would not have been able to find a home for the program administrator and his wife, both of whom are employed full-time in Woodstock, providing vital essential worker services. TCC is now the recipient of a grant from the EDC to grow our staffing in order to increase our capacity to serve more families and kids as part of our after-school programming. Without childcare after school, parents cannot be fully employed. Full employment increases our tax base and ability to spend dollars locally. There are currently 10 open positions for teaching staff in our school district, with more expected retirements next year. And all of the after-school and childcare programs receiving grants from the EDC plan to spend some of that money on hiring staff. Without housing, we will not be able to hire staff. We need to make it possible for those providing essential services to also live here. And we need to make it desirable to live here because we have essential services available. I'm appreciative and grateful for the leadership the EDC has taken in recognizing these needs and encourage a supportive vote in favor of the housing proposal being voted on by the EDC. I guess she didn't realize that we've already voted on that, but because this came in between the last two meetings. I'm discouraged by the amount of funding being directed at marketing and tourism. While I see cost efficiencies and foundational structural digital infrastructure as a good investment, I am not supportive of additional budget being spent in this year for marketing efforts to recruit new visitors to town. I have found that for my family, our quality of life has been severely degraded by the influx of visitors to town on weekends. I have not been to Montvert, a favorite haunt of my son and I, for 2 years because it is impossible to navigate the crowds on the weekends. The trespassing on private property by visitors to our beloved spots like the Jenny Farm and the Doten Farm on Cloudland, documented by letters to the listserv, are examples of the pressure and tensions that too much tourism can create. We are successful as a tourist destination. EDC funds can provide more long-term value to our community by being spent on local job development, dependent on available housing and affordable workspaces. I propose that the EDC consider further cuts to the marketing budget by investing only in the structural efficiencies of integrated digital platforms that can be ready to go for targeted tourism development in future years. Okay. So with that introduction, Patrick, I'll turn it over to you to just briefly explain the revised proposal, the revised budget.
Okay. First of all, I want to just make a few comments. First, we need to remember that we live in a tourist town and that the tourists coming here and spending their funds is how the EDC is able to fund projects. And so looking at how marketing can help with that, not only during the busy times, which are always going to be busy, but also during the non-peak times. If we can drive a little more traffic here, it's going to help the local businesses. It's going to help everybody in the long run. We've had a crazy couple of years coming off of COVID with, in exceptional volumes of people here. And that's not going to continue. It's going to slow down. And we need to be prepared for that. And that's what, what we're trying to do and plan for with the marketing program that we're doing. You've asked me to cut this, and literally I've had to, when I came in with the first budget, we had, knowing that, we need to keep things sharp, we used a very, very sharp pencil. We had a few things to plan to improve, including, the part of the stuff that's on the website, which people had commented about in our last meeting. I've had to take all of that out with that said, you can see the things that have been taken out. I've cut the ad spend in half. We've taken out the lead magnet budget, so I'm going to have to get people to volunteer things for that. The restaurant guide I had to take out. The social media coordinator we had to take out and consolidate in class 4, which means we'll be doing a little bit less of that. And then, I sliced the contingency budget slightly. There's always things that come up throughout the year. And, I think the contingency is an important component to have in there, just so that we can take advantage of any opportunities that may arise or cover any costs that are unknown. Like, for instance, last year we had $400 for the logo renewal for the John, I can't remember what that. Well, we renewed that. It was the
it was the Woodstock logo, the star with
Right.
the chamber and the EDC
Right.
paid for half of that. I think it was $400 each.
right.
And you
So
had to renew
that
the trademark.
the trademark. Thank you, Jill. That's the word I was trying to remember. So I've gone through here now. So basically, we're going to be running at an extremely lean program, just basically keeping it running at a very, very low level. Well, also the things that concern me the most is the social media and the blog stuff, which we wanted to improve the content on the website, which a lot of it is 6 to 10 years old. We wanted to be able to go through the website and take blogs that really don't need to be there anymore and upgrade and update a lot of the ones that exist and create new ones. So that's now going to become basic. We're just basically creating some new blogs or updating some existing ones to use for the emails that we send out. That as we bring names in, we're marketing to them, and we're using the content on the blog as the content in the website. So I've got this down as far as I think I can get it, and still keep it running.
The total. Okay, the total is 119. Okay, Joe, Joe sent me a short email. It's taking me a while to pull it up, but do you want to just make the point, or I can make the? Do you want me to?
I can read it.
Yeah, you got three hands up too, Michael.
Go ahead.
All right, so
Susie and
okay, fine.
I have it up, but
Todd.
take them up.
Right.
Michael, Todd, Susie, and Joe.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I have a couple of questions here. How do we delete all this stuff and then the management or the marketing program management fee does not change? That doesn't make any sense to me. It seems like they're doing a whole lot less work. And B, I thought the task was
they're not doing whole.
Hold on,
I'm
Patrick.
not done yet. I thought the task was to come back to us with a budget of $100,000 and find out what we can get for 100,000, not 120,000. So I'm a little confused here.
Well, you asked me to try to get to 100,000, and I tried to do that. And the reason the management hasn't been reduced from class 4 is because I've consolidated now a lot of the stuff that we were going to do outside of class 4 into class 4. And even before we started this budget, I had already spoken to them long before I presented the original budget that we needed to, basically make this year just a straight running year, that we can improve the program efficiency without doing any new things other than the things we cut, which is the video content and so forth. So if you want the program to run, and you got to understand there's a lot of work that's being done that you can't see and behind the scenes to make the program run, then this is where we need to be. You can only cut so much before something doesn't work, or and it breaks. And so I've literally now gone through. I did it the first time. Now I've just done it again. I don't know what to tell you other than it takes a certain amount of time, effort, and resources to keep the program, collecting names that we want and doing what we, increasing our own list and being able to, market Woodstock, anytime we want.
Todd, and then Susie and Joe. Joe, Todd, sorry, you're muted. I was looking at the wrong screen.
Sorry. Thanks, Patrick. I just really want to make it clear that I believe in this and I believe in you, and I know how hard you've worked on this. I just have some struggles that I'd like to talk about. And I'm saying this with, like, you're one of my favorite people, and I'm saying this with all due respect, and I'm really bad at that. So if I come across the way, I'm just trying to tell you right now that, like, I want to say yes to this. I bet you'll convince me, okay? But here's the issues I have. When we started the marketing program, I believe it was $100,000 that we voted for. Maybe it was 125. And I remember that I was all excited about it because of a couple things. It was an infrastructure project. And I look at Woodstock as having a lot of broken infrastructure, whether it's the sewer or our issue with the water system people or whatever. There's so many broken things, right? The high school. So when we talked about it then, it was supposed to be building a platform that then we can decide that we wouldn't be marketing and increasing the cost of. And that was one of the reasons why I was comfortable at that time. And I was less knowledgeable than I am now, certainly of the town workings and what you're doing. And again, I support all of it. Like, I think we need the tours. I support it. But this seems like a higher budget. And I know we've gone to major grants, but this is a extension of an already existing program that was supposed to be able to put on pause. So I'm just going to use your own words against you so that you can tell me why I'm wrong. Very low program just to keep it running. That's at $119,996. Well, I thought we could potentially spend zero after the 3-year line in our first. It was money already spent. I remember this whole sell on it, and we didn't have to do anything, and the platform's built, and then later we can do so. So now we're saying that it's 120 grand if I round up by $4 just to keep it running at a low level. And then you just said you only can cut so much before it breaks. So now I'm feeling like you're saying that if we don't spend 120 grand, it literally starts to not even work. And I thought that we spent the money last year and to build something, and we paid for that. And now I'm freaked out because it looks like we have to spend 120 grand every year. And this isn't the year that I want to spend 120 grand. I want to spend 120 grand on other things. I want to spend it on housing. I want to spend it on children. That's what I want to spend it on. But I know it's expensive, and I know marketing's expensive, and they all are important things. But are you telling me that this is a broken system if we don't spend 120 grand this year? And are you telling me that what you told us last year turned out through events that unfolded, that it's just not true, that the whole thing breaks and we have nothing if we don't give you this money this year? Thank you.
No. Well, first of all, a couple of things. Just remember that combined all of the marketing budget into one number. So a lot of the costs that are here, origins, the blogs, those things are are elements that were not part of the original, plan that I had said. I had combined this all together so that we had one number for marketing and not three, four different marketing grants. So that's, let's keep that in mind, that this number is not just the program that I built, it's all marketing. So just need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, Todd, I want to just jump in real quick because I can also help answer that. Just as, again, the team executing this work. Last year, you approved a $110,000 budget for the execution that we currently have. That was not including the management that already existed within the town. So that did not include the town social media coordinator, the expenses that went toward, for example, the restaurant guide. And so in addition to that $110,000, the town was already spending a sizable amount in the previous year on all the other marketing execution.
Yeah, but we would vote on that, Charles. We wouldn't just throw a blank check and say every year we're spending this. It would be voted on.
No doubt, no doubt. And what we're looking at here is $100,000 total. So what we've done is reduce the program that you're looking at by at least $30,000. So it's about $70,000 in terms of the actual program. Then the other resources which made up the previous program.
But it's not. It's $120,000 because this is all of marketing's proposal. You can go and come to us with 4 different things and say it's 70, 20, 10, and 10. But the fact is, of the EDC's pot of money, we're looking at 120. So you can break it down however you want, but it's just very expensive, and we don't have to do any of it.
Right. What did the EDC spend in the last period? Just out of curiosity, because I believe it was 110 plus.
Charles Kahn. Yeah, if I can just briefly, if you can hear me, you're both right here. This is an integrated proposal for 120,000. I think what Patrick and Charles are trying to say is that the equivalent of the 120,000, sorry, the equivalent of the 110,000 that we approve for the infrastructure platform and so forth is 77, basically. And or 83 really, because the Clavio is sort of part of the platform as well. So it's sort of the 110, the platform that was built has been reduced, and some of the other things have also been a bit reduced. They still add up to 120. Todd, your points are still valid, but Charles is just explaining the math. Charles and Patrick were explaining the math. Sorry.
Yeah, 34,000 of this right now was social media coordinator, the website work for Origins, and blog writing.
Patrick, I'm sorry, just because I don't want to ask any more questions after this. I just want to focus. Let's just focus on these 2 things. Very low program just to keep it running. Okay, so it's $77,000, or we wasted our money, or you can only cut so much before it breaks. So what is the number we have to pay every single year where it just stops working? Like, this is really what I'm trying to get at for meat and potatoes, because when we voted last year, it wasn't an ad infinitum spend every year for checkout great, $77,000, even if we still did the other, whatever that delta is. So can you specifically address the points of very low program just to keep it running, which is your words, and you can only cut so much before it breaks, which is your words? What are those points? What are we having to spend every single year so that we can understand when we vote here that this isn't just this year, it has to be next year, it has to be next year, or that's not the case and your words are misconstrued? That's what I want to know so that I don't have to keep talking.
Probably looking at 120 each year. With that, and that's just running. That's just doing the basic stuff that we've done every year, plus running the platform and collecting, the names and being able to market to specific people. And it's frustrating for me because I know this is not a small amount of money, but the benefit that we're gaining in how we bring people to Woodstock, and as I mentioned before, bringing people to Woodstock who have the funds to buy lodging, eat in the restaurants, buy stuff from our local shops to keep our businesses running, and to be able to do this not just in peak times where we can really collect a great amount of data, but also being able to promote during the off-peak times, which we've never really done before. So it's I know it's not a small amount of money. At the same time, it's not a lot of money either. To market a town that we're driving, millions of dollars of business to, so, and this is economic development. Marketing is economic development. Marketing drives the 1% tax. So you asked me to do the best I could to try to get this to 100,000. I've done that. And I'm not sure what else I can say.
All right, Susie and then Joe.
Okay, thanks. So I was going
I'm
through
sorry,
the,
and I see, excuse me 1 second, Susie. I see the other names on there. I'll call on you next, but go ahead, Susie and then Joe, and then I've got some others.
okay, so I have some questions and then I have a comment. The first question is, in the last meeting, Patrick, you said that you were doing giveaways, like hotel giveaways, 2 nights at the inn.
No, 1 night at the inn, and all of those were volunteer, were donated.
Okay.
One
But
night at the
what
inn,
is the-
one night at the Blue Horse.
What is the value of that?
Probably,
So I
probably.
think yeah, the value is seasonal for both of those ads.
Yeah.
Looking for what time of year.
I can't hear you.
It's seasonal, anywhere between probably $300 to $500 per night.
Per
Okay.
night.
Okay, and so it's 1 night giveaway or a 2 night giveaway?
1 night.
Okay. If it goes over $600, you are required to, if the value of the hotel room goes over $600, you're required to adhere to all the sweepstake laws, both on the federal and state level. The other question I have.
It's $5,000.
Sorry, I just looked it up. It's $600. I'll send you the links. So, but it doesn't matter because it's not at $600. The other question I have is, you said that you were going to be targeting high income people. Your plan says you're targeting the top 10% income earners. And I think you just said you were targeting people who you think could afford to shop and stay at the lodging. Yeah. Okay. So when the EDC did this visioning project, I don't know if you were here for that, but there was an extensive program to solicit how people vision what the future of Woodstock will be and what their values are. And their values were, it was very, very clear that their values were for an inclusive community, right? And when you target 10%, the top income earners in the country to come live here, you're going against that stated goal. You're creating an.
I'm not sure where the top 10%. I'm not sure where that top 10% number came. I never said that.
It's in the presentation that you delivered.
Patrick, Susie, we are in fact targeting top 10% income earners in some campaigns, and some campaigns are open to the general audience, specifically the segmented campaigns. So all of the content that was captured seasonally and for each of those core segments, whether that's food and shoppers, whether that's those interested in history, or whether that's families. Those campaigns are not targeted by income, so they're broad. The income targeted campaigns are specific to the incentives that we're giving away. And so what we're looking at is fairly holistic. There are different campaigns that are for different purposes. Now, the EDC is really a business, right? You have a product, and that's Woodstock. And when you sell that product, you get paid, and that's really the options tax. So typically when a business has a banner income year, they invest in the product, which is what you're doing. You're looking at healthcare or childcare, rather, you're looking at housing. But at the same time, they typically spend more in marketing by expanding the budget. And that's really because marketing is what drives the revenue. And better marketing means you can make more and you can spend more on those other initiatives. And so when we look at the type of person that we want to bring to Woodstock, specifically through the marketing program, this doesn't mean everyone coming to Woodstock is in the top 5% of income.
Okay, but I'm really bothered by even targeting anybody, spending any money, targeting the top 10% people, because that is not what is that's the EDC going against the wishes of the community, even if it's just one portion of your spend. That's my point. And then the comment that I want, sorry, I had a couple more questions. So Klaviyo, that's a kind of a high end. There are other email platforms that are lower than the $6,000. Have you considered one of those?
Susie, those won't have the technical capabilities that we need to run this program.
Okay,
So
but you're talking about sending emails out to people, you know, how much technical capabilities
Susie,
do
the cost, yep. So the cost would actually increase significantly using a separate program, and that's because Klaviyo allows us to automate what we do. Using a separate program such as, you know, MailChimp or Emma, for example, would actually increase the cost because you would be hiring someone physically to send those messages every single time. So you'd see a minimum of 30% increase in cost outside of using Klaviyo.
I mean, I was looking at platform comparisons, last night, and there's all sorts of analysis that you can do. I'm just saying that there's an opportunity to lower your cost by choosing a less high-end platform than Klaviyo. So then my last comment, the comment that I want to make is, it's kind of annoying that every time we bring up, you know, that the tourism are causing destruction and invading privacy and stuff like that, that we say, oh, but you're against tourism. No one is against tourism. No one is, and everybody realizes that there are going to be tourists to support the tourist shops that are in the town. But what we are saying is that when you, it says in the marketing plan that you've got a list of 20,000 people and you're going to send them emails to the events like Wasal and stuff like that, you end up with way more people than we have facilities for. And so not only, you know, we talk a lot about the restaurants, but what we don't talk enough about is like bathrooms and all the public urination that goes on in the parking lots, in the parks, on people's property. And these are you know, there's real issues when you have too many people. So what we're talking about is degree. We're not talking black or white, all or nothing. We're not saying no tourism, but we're saying rational tourism. And and right now we have irrational tourism. You know, the paper said that we had 5,000 people for Wasal weekend. We have no facilities for 5,000 people. And consequently, abuse happens to people's property, to decorum, to all sorts of things. And so when you talk about you want to have, money to send mailings to 20,000 people to get them to come to Wasal or Taste of Woodstock or whatever, that's too much. You guys are in your stores ringing up sales. You don't know what the rest of the community is experiencing when there are way too many people. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I think I have, so Joe, Roger, Jill, Deborah, Marion.
Okay.
Joe.
That's me.
Yes.
But I think that there's a lot of irony, I think, in what I'm about to say. I listened to Elizabeth Reed's letter, who, by the way, is a close friend and neighbor of mine, and who I didn't know that she was going to write this letter, because we usually share everything important. What's striking to me about this whole discussion, it seems though one side, like the marketing proposals, is talking about numbers. The other side, like Susie and like Elizabeth and like me sometimes, talking about people. And it doesn't seem to be a balance being struck here. Now, what the irony is that I'm the patriarch of a family that is often brought up in these discussions, Nürnberg Cafe. And I doubt if there's many businesses in town that profit financially from this influx of tourism yet than ours. So what I'm about to say is probably an irony. A question I often ask and very seldom get a response is, how do we make Woodstock better without changing what we came here for? And I don't often get, I think, an accurate response to that question. And again, I'll come back to the word balance. It seemed to be a lack of balance between getting as many people as we possibly can funneled through the village of Woodstock and the impact it has on the people who came here for the specific reasons and the benefits that Woodstock offer. The marketing budget at Monberg Cafe is minutely compared to what we gross. Because we focus on the job that we have and doing the best we can at the job that we have to do. And letting that in itself carry the success of our business. Not just by ads, promos, and just flooding the area with advertising and marketing. Marketing to me means doing the job you have at hand and doing it the best way you can, and letting that drive the success of your business. And I think that can be applied to the town. And that's why I have said right from the beginning, yes, marketing is important. But at the scale that was proposed, I think it's overdone. And I've said it right from the beginning.
Joe, let me just.
Wait a minute, I'm not done yet.
All right, just
Charlie?
quickly though.
Yeah, all right. I'll read a letter that I wrote to John, some time ago. It was before the last Thursday's meeting. I was unable to attend. The letter goes as follows. I won't be able to attend Thursday's meeting. I feel marketing proposal would be incomplete without the ability to track visitors' response to their Woodstock experience. I feel that information would be vital in efforts to improve our ability to make visitors' time in Woodstock as pleasant as possible. We can't make improvements unless we know what needs to be improved. And I think what I'm trying to say there is, do the job that we have the best we can, and that in itself will drive success.
Okay, thank you. Charles, I'm just going to keep going with the comments that you and Patrick will have, chances to continue to comment. Roger, Jill, Deborah, Marion, Roger.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this effort, and it's clearly a very professional effort. And I don't think anybody is saying that Woodstock should not have a marketing budget. What I'm concerned about is the size and extensiveness of this program that's going to make up 25 to 30% of the EDC budget going forward ad infinitum. So are you really willing to commit this level of your budget all forever to a marketing effort? Clearly, again, there is a need for a marketing effort for Woodstock. I think it remains to be determined or established that you need a marketing effort this extensive and this expensive going forward. To echo what Todd was saying, the revised budget calls for $94K in agency fees versus a $6K spend in paid media and a $23K spend in owned media, I'm sorry. That's more than a 3-to-1 agency overhead on media. I'm not saying that they're not doing the work that they're supposed to be doing. I just think that that is a huge agency budget for this kind of effort. And also, as I've said many times before, the core of your owned media should be your website. The website, as it currently exists, does not support this kind of program. We could be doing a lot more with owned media and with organic and some level of paid search if we took our website and made the content significantly more relevant to the experience of life in Woodstock as opposed to the current pay-to-play model. So I think you really need to go back. And again, I'm not saying that tremendous amount of work and good work has not gone into this, but I think you need to go back and determine whether or not you're committing 25 to 30% of the EDC budget forever to marketing and whether or not the marketing, the return on marketing from this kind of program has been established. And I see the 5.5 million or whatever. That's great, but that's projected money, not in the pocket money. And putting aside the extent to which marketing a product that's essentially at capacity for a lot of times of the year is returning on the budget in the way that benefits the town as a whole. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to jump in. I need to say that a number of things being said here today are just simply false in terms of how this program operates. And I'm not sure if that's because, you know, that there may not be clarity in the presentations that have been given in the past. The entirety of this program is dedicated from the agency side to the owned audience. Okay, that's what we're doing here. That's the entire point of this program. And so if we're doing our jobs correctly, we will spend less money in targeted advertising, and we'll spend less money on the other channels, whether that's organic and organic management. So what we're doing here is we're capturing an audience that we communicate with entirely in our known space that we do own. And so that's just simply not true. The majority of our effort is going into that open space. That's the email list that we capture, that we nurture. And the agency's job is to communicate what Woodstock is and the experience that those prospects will have when they visit, live here, work here, with the broad audience. It's not even entirely marketing. Part of this is just communicating what we do with people who may, you know, someday move here with a young family. And we understand there's other issues, but I just want to clarify that. A number of things, you know, that we're bringing up here just aren't exactly how the program works.
All right, Jill, Deborah, Marion, and then I have a comment if there aren't others. Jill.
So I want to bring a completely different vein in here. Maybe what we need to think about is what message we are communicating with the audience that we're building. Right now, we don't need any more tourists. I concur with what everyone said that, I mean, downtown is horrible at weekends. I avoid it. And many other people that I've spoken to this week do as well. The message we actually need to communicate is we're a responsible community who've decided to live here and rebuild the community. Our community has been hit hard in the last few years. And now we have a situation where we don't have childcare, we don't have housing. So, hey, audience, are you already owning second homes? Would you like to share your second home? Would you like to build an ADU? And maybe that would help the other initiatives we've got. Because quite frankly, there's no point attracting anyone else to buy a house here. There's no house to buy. We have people who live in houses that are too small for them, who want to buy a house, who already live here and want to buy another house or move to a new house, and they can't. So maybe it's about our messaging and what we say to people.
All right, Jill, thanks. Deborah?
Yeah, I'm really struck by that. I'm just kind of taking that in because I think that's regardless of what we spend on marketing, I think there should be a clear understanding of what we're marketing. I think that's like very valid. Like if we're spending a third of our budget, that we're all in alignment with what that means. So I think regardless of how this pans out in the end, I think that needs to be part of the process, which is that we have an agreed upon, not just the strategy, but messaging of like, what are the things that we're going for and in what percentage, so that we have some say in dictating where, you know, how that money is spent. So what I was going to say before, which is kind of on the Todd thing and a little bit on Roger, marketing is so critical. The work that's being done has been amazing. I am also confused about the 120 a year that we have, that needs to be, if we're voting on that, that's not just about this year, or if there is an understanding that this will change as time goes on because things are built, it would be great to have an understanding of what that means. Like, Does that mean in the coming years it will be less, et cetera, et cetera? The two things that I wanted to bring up are this. One, I'm not sure why like the restaurant guide was something very tangible and a small buy, a $2,000 buy that was incredibly helpful to the town in a very like tangible way to the businesses and to the people who are coming through town. I'm sad to see that that is one of the places to cut when that's only a $2,000 piece, because that's a tangible thing that I think affects and helps people in town. I also think, and I just want, again, I work with both of these men, and I love what you do. It's not unheard of for people a town or a company to say, I have this much money, what can we get for this? And I think that's a fair way of going about it, especially given the other things that are so critical, like housing and childcare. And I would hope and ask and hope that we can shift the energy of this into, like, this is not a small amount of money. I know it feels like there's a disappointment and like this has to be this way. And whether it's 100,000 or 120,000, that's a lot of money. That's not a broken system. It shouldn't be a broken system at that dollar amount. And I hope in whatever, comes out and is granted, like that's a success of getting a grant of 100,000 or 120 or 170. That's a success. And a lot can be done with it.
Deborah, real quick, I also should note, it is definitely not a broken system. What we've done here is build something truly exceptional. You won't find another small town in Vermont, certainly, and likely not in New England, with a program with this level of capability. And we can choose to leverage that how we want, really. At the end of the day, though, there's a base cost to operate the infrastructure that we've created. Previously to the $110,000 grant, which started this program, the town's marketing program was very small, admittedly, and this is why you chose to invest in a marketing program. So now we've done that. We've created an infrastructure, we've invested in a marketing program, and we have a system that works extremely well. And now we need to operate the system. Now, whether we use that program to communicate with people we want to come and build buildings here, open businesses here, come here as tourists, or just engage and share the message of what we are in Woodstock, regardless of how we choose to leverage this infrastructure, the cost is pretty much unchanged, right? If we want to bring businesses here, maybe we develop some video content and we tell a story about a business and we use that. Maybe that's more expensive. Maybe in some ways, it's, a different objective is slightly less expensive, but more or less, this is the total cost to operate the program.
Charles, when we voted last year, we were told that it was a platform infrastructure and that we could pause it at any time and we can decide to market Woodstock later. We weren't told that there's an ongoing ad infinitum cost, and if we don't do it, the whole thing goes to shit. That's the problem.
That's exactly right.
Well, hold on.
That's the problem. That's what we're struggling with, Charles. Like, no one's saying you didn't build something amazing. You can build a rocket ship that goes to Mars, but we don't want to go to Mars. Not today.
Let me just hold on. Let me just clarify. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and then Marion, you're next. So I just want a point of clarification. I think when Patrick said it will break, I think Patrick, you can confirm this. He didn't mean if we don't keep spending it, it will go away. And then if we ever wanted to restart it, we would have to rebuild it, like it dissolves. I think what he meant was it doesn't, if we, the car takes $100,000 worth of gas. If we don't put the gas in the tank, we can't drive the car. If we want to not buy gas this year, the car can sit there. And if we wanted to start it next year, I'm not advocating that or opposed to it. If we want to start the car next year, it will still work. We just have to put the gas in. So I think the opportunity technically to pause this program in its entirety is there. Whether we should or not is what but I think when Patrick said it will break, what he meant was if we don't put gas in the tank, we can't drive the car. We could always drive the car next year. So we haven't been misled, I believe, on that one dimension. The question really is, do we want to drive the car this year? Or do we So
Don, I just have to add something to what you just said. I don't think it's the analogy is quite the same, because what they built shouldn't be just out of gas. It's not just it exists. It should be able to continue. You know, if you have $60,000, and I'm not saying that's what we should do, but if you have $60,000, that's some gas. How far does that get you? If it's
I understand.
80,000, if it's 100,000, yeah.
I wasn't trying to make it black and white. I agree with your point
Yeah,
completely.
yeah, like they built something that exists, and
What I meant is something isn't, the risk here, I believe, is not that anything will break and that we'll have to rebuild it. It's that we will either use it fully or partially or not at all. So, all right, it is just a point of clarification. Again, I'm not, Marion, I think you're next, and then I have a.
Yeah, I think I want to be first. I want to reiterate that you know, I think you guys have done incredible and complex and successful work here. I think it's just we're all struggling with the fact that building a community that's successful is a holistic effort, even from the economic development point of view. As several people have said very well, right? We need the housing, we need the childcare, we need the quality of life, and we need to market the town in a sustainable way. And so right now, everybody is reacting, I think, to the fact that this feels out of balance, and also that for whatever reason, the communication, whether we didn't understand it or wasn't communicated clearly, there was this sense that we were building a platform that would eventually cost us less. And so I think other people have said that a lot. So I have a couple of specific questions. But I just want to say, I want to be really careful. This is not an attack on you, Patrick, or Charles. It's really just all of us trying to do, make really difficult decisions. And I think we're all disappointed that you guys weren't able to accommodate the request to reduce the budget by the amount we thought. So my specific questions, and I don't know if you can answer them all, but here they are. Number one is, does anybody know? I keep hearing that we spent in a disparate way on marketing last year, and this year it's consolidated. It would be really helpful for me to see a total of last year versus the total that you're proposing this year, so that I would understand the scope of the reductions, because there's been a lot of numbers thrown out, but I just haven't seen them clearly delineated. The second question is regarding the $15K for a social media coordinator that's being cut and brought under the agency budget. Is that a person right now? And are we taking like a $15K contract away from an independent contractor and putting that under the agency in order to save money? I'm curious what that means specifically. I echo the point that others have made that it's, there may be reasons for it, but it's glaring to note that lots of things are cut and the agency contract is staying exactly the same. Like it's just that let me, please, you know what, Charles, please let me finish, because I want to finish my remarks. And then the last thing is just, I think what we tried to do as an EDC, and certainly what I would like to do, is to say to you, you guys are the experts. We don't know or understand the details. So we've asked you, we're giving you a mission. How do we take the work that you're doing and bring it into balance with the other projects that we feel are really important? And we asked you guys to figure out how to do that because we respect your knowledge. And I think we're disappointed that that isn't quite what happened. And so now we're stuck. Like, I don't want to be micromanaging your internal budget, but we're feeling really torn about spending this level of money on this platform. So that's my full remarks and questions. Thanks.
Okay, just to give you a number, I added up all the money we spent last year. The 110, plus the 48 to continue the program, that's 158. Then we had 25,000 for the social media coordinator, 6,500 for the website, 2,000 for the brochure, And so that comes out to $250,000. Which what we've got now is nowhere near that, because we put a very sharp pencil to it.
Right.
And so I just from the number standpoint, so you understand that part of
I
it.
think that's somewhat overstated because we were using multiple year. It's hard to explain this, but it's actually complicated to answer your question, Marion, but it deserves an answer. And the number is, I think, significantly more than 100,000, but I don't think it's 250 because, Patrick, of the multi-year stuff.
Right. That's
So anyway,
that's true.
We will get that answer, not in this meeting, it may seem ridiculous that we
And
can't.
I believe, I just want to jump in real quick. I believe the number is about 170 something, based on the 1 year allocation and the additional expenses. So being cut from 170 down to the previously proposed, 158, and now coming in at 120. I also want to note the agency budget here was cut 36.89%. So well over a third in the proposal you're looking for. And that's because we have eliminated many of the growth resources which were part of the previous presentation.
Can
So
we just
sorry, but
move on,
sorry, Charles,
please?
we
Like,
saw
Charles,
we
please.
saw a budget where the agency budget was 77,256, and then we asked for cuts, and it's still 77,256. I realize that you've taken on additional services, but maybe it's just the way it's presented here.
That's
John,
right.
I would like to ask Charles, please. John, I would like to ask the EDC members to speak first, and you call on Charles to then reciprocate any answers, please.
All right, that's fine. Patrick, go ahead if you want, and then if you
Yeah,
want to refer, you go ahead. Yeah.
Mayor, this is bounced around so much. Mayor, you asked a question about the person losing a job. The social media coordinator we have now is asked for a break. She's pregnant and will basically wants to take a break between now and September. So we're not taking a job away from somebody. What we've done is we've tried to be more efficient. So by pulling these things into class 4, we're eliminating a lot of additional communication and management between outside resources and trying to coordinate 2 or 3 people together versus having it all in one place. So you get some efficiency, which is why the social media budget was spread across the agency and an outside person, and why we took out the outside person. So no one's losing a job there in a sense, because they wanted to take a break anyway. You guys need to decide what you want to do here. I'm frustrated right now, and anything I say is going to be frustration. So I'm going to let you guys say what you want to have happen, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. All right. Let me. There's Susie. I know your hand is up again, but you've had a chance to speak, and so I just want to. So I just like to make a couple of comments. I think the situation that we're in it presents a real conundrum, which I think is why we're having the discussion we're having. I think I just want to throw in a couple of points that I think haven't been mentioned, or have been maybe in one case. I think we're overlooking something. First of all, I just want to talk about class 4. And again, a lot of people have said that, the work is excellent. I agree. I think we all agree it's an excellent marketing platform. I also want to say that I believe, just having been a consultant, not a marketing consultant, that I do not imagine that class 4 is making a penny of profit on this project. Whether they're breaking even or losing money is unclear to me, and I haven't talked to Charles about this. And so I don't know what their economics are, but I believe this is to some extent a labor of love, and we ought to at least make it clear. That has nothing to do with whether we should spend the money, but I just want to make sure that there's no sense that this is a profit-seeking initiative. I don't think there's any profit in this, would be my guess. The second thing is that we I would be interested to understand what a broader cross-section of the community thinks. There are a group of folks here who have held to consistent views, rational views, and supported over the last 18 months. Those views haven't changed. I don't know that there's facts to push either side to change them, but I don't think we know much more than about 10 of the people here who have strong points of view on one side or the other about what the community actually thinks. And that troubles me for us to once again make this decision without knowing that. It doesn't mean we can't make it, but it makes me hesitate because it's perfectly plausible to me that 60% of the people feel that the town is overrun by tourists. It's also perfectly plausible to me that 75% of the people don't think the town is overrun by tourists. And I'd like to know which of those two it is. It would be nice. It would be nice to know that before we make a decision. We could make a decision without knowing that. I think we have built a very, very good platform, and the question is whether or not we can afford to continue to run it without being told, roughly speaking, what it's going to cost to run it. And I think we just need to recognize that the platform that we had before was a very inefficient platform. What we have now is an efficient platform that costs more. And what we had before was an inefficient platform that costs less. And what we, of course, would like is an efficient platform that costs less. But it turns out, and this makes sense, that you can't buy that. That product isn't available. And so we are faced with that decision. I think today's meeting is the first time where that decision faces us. You know, it's right in our face. We can't have an efficient platform that's inexpensive. We can either have an inexpensive platform or an efficient platform, but we can't have both. That troubles me, and I would like to be able to make this decision knowing more about that, but we may not be able to. The last point I want to make is, and it builds a little bit, Susie, I understand Susie's frustration. I agree with a lot of what Susie says, but there was one point about saying, you know, prior to the pandemic, there was a lot of tourism. And Joe, you talked about the Woodstock that we wanted. I just want to remind us, and this I think is the core conundrum for me. The level of tourism that we had prior to the pandemic was leading to a decline in Woodstock's population for 28 out of the 30 years that prior to the pandemic. If you look at Woodstock's population from 1988 to 2018, those 30 years, the population went down in 28 of those years. So just to be clear, that's what we would be going back to. Or let me put it differently. There's a risk that that's what we would be going back to. Now, is the 2 years, this is a question that the millions of people have debated in their communities and for lots of different reasons, and we have to debate too. Is the last 2 years the trend or a blip? And I don't think any of us know, to be fair. I don't know.
John, those were national demographic trends. There were people moving to cities.
No, sorry, I'm talking about the population of Woodstock, Vermont, the census population of Woodstock, Vermont. And one of the reasons why that's just a fact. I mean, that the population of Woodstock, Vermont, the school population,
no, I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying that a lot of small towns and suburbs lost population over the past 30 years. People were moving to the economic centers, and that
exactly right. That's the point I'm making. So
it's not related to tourism, though. I mean, because you said you started off saying that the population decline was related to tourism, and
no. What I'm saying, what I mean to say is that the Woodstock. Okay, sorry, I did not mean to say that it's driven by tourism. I do believe, by the way, that the population is partly driven by tourism because we have a lot of evidence that very few people move.
Absolutely, that's why I'm here. I visited the town and I decided to stay.
But my basic point is that this, unfortunately, and this is the conundrum for me, this isn't a choice. I don't think we have a choice between going back to what we loved and what we're seeing now. I think we have a choice to what we're seeing now or something else that we haven't seen before. But because it's easy, it's comfortable for us to say, we don't want this, we want what we had. I don't think what we had is really what we're going to get it. I worry that we can't get it. And so that doesn't mean we should pursue this program. But if we don't pursue this program, I think we have to come up with another program for Woodstock. With it, I don't mean marketing program. I mean vision and concept. It's not. I think it's unlikely for us to be a economically sustainable full school system, not overrun by tourists place. I worry. My concern is that by rejecting this, we should not fool ourselves into thinking that we have a certainty that we're going to accept that.
I really have to.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So anyway, those are my comments. And then in a minute, I'm going to try to kind of call a question, at least for now. So, Joe.
John, if you remember correctly, I'm going to do a little revisions here. There was an issue during the pandemic when there was a huge question about wassail and whether to have it and whether not to have it, and if we do have it, how to handle it. There was even these suggestions, well, we'll just put people on the top floor of the inn. They can look at it through the windows without, and then, you know, have flags on certain. And I think the point I made to you then, and I think is valid now, I think we all have to agree, maybe not, but I think most of us would agree that the pandemic changed everything for everybody. It changed the country. It changed Woodstock. It changed everything. And I remember specifically saying to you, John, I have been on this Economic Development Commission since its inception. We have spent money and we have done surveys and we've made efforts to get people here, to live here, to work here, to build business here. The pandemic is doing this for us now. And it has done it to a certain extent for us now. In my opinion, the job now is, based on some things that Todd has referred to, quality. I think, you know, quantity is not the answer. I think, in my opinion, quality. We've got people coming now. Make this the best place they could visit. And when they go home, they tell their friends and neighbors all about the great place of Woodstock, Vermont. That's why I said what I said in this letter. There is no mechanism in any of this to determine their experience here in Woodstock. How did they like it? What do they think is wrong? What should we improve upon? There's no mechanism in any of this and all the money we're spending to determine that, so we can learn to be a better place, to be a better community, to have quality, like Todd has said, instead of quantity. That's my point.
And Joe, as we said in the last meeting, we can do that. We said that in the last meeting. The system that we have.
Well, it's not being done. Point one. Point two is I don't think it's being recognized, Patrick.
Joe, it's not being done because we set the program up first. The add-ons and adding extra features and stuff, that was year 2, year 3. I said that at the beginning. Understand that this platform gives us the ability to do so much. You know,
like feedback.
Including what you're asking for.
Yes. Feedback is a huge part of what we wanted to focus on in the coming year.
Charlie, wait.
All right, hold on 1 second. Deborah and then Charles, and then I'm gonna because we're running out of time. We've lost a couple of people. So all right, Deborah and then Charles, and then let's vote on the.
One of the things that we're all acknowledging out loud and in the chat is both that this is complicated, that we need marketing, and that these two people have created something that's pretty amazing, and we're all glad that's happened, that we have a better system. Now, how we use it going forward is a question. I want to make sure that we don't conflate two things, which is, John, you and I have talked many times before, and the conversation that needs to be had with the community about what we want it to look like as far as the community. Like, are there too many tourists? Are there not? I think it would be a disservice to attach that to this marketing budget, I think, and like having that be part of that conversation, I think that's information that then we can use to make decisions on the marketing. But I think the only thing that we can hope for in this sense today is that we can come up with, yes, we agree that we need marketing of some sort. We agree that this is, these are the people who have created something that is really amazing, and we want to move forward with that, whether it's titrate this way or that way. And it's not unheard of to come up with a budget, and that budget changes, and then you figure out what you can do for a budget. That's my thought.
All right, Charles, you get the last thought here.
Yeah, listen, I maybe I should have started with some of this just to provide some background. I think that there have been a number of things said that truthfully I agree with. I have spent 28 years of my life in Woodstock, so I have some experience living here and looking at how the symbiotic nature of tourism and the economic sustainability of the town go hand in hand. Patrick's right, John's right as well. This has been a labor of love for both me and my team here in Burlington. Every day I come to work and I connect audiences with brands. That's what I do. And I look at the data and I understand what the opportunities are within that. And so as the person who comes to work every day and does look at the data and understands the actual impact of what this is doing, also as someone who is personally going to be dealing with these things, right? Healthcare, childcare, housing, as I look to move back to Woodstock at some point in the next 10 years, these are questions that are relevant to me and I'm thinking about them. So, I just wanted to say kind of 2 points. One is that this is the closed loop system. And at the end of the day, tourism funds the EDC's budget. And I know you're aware of that, but I wonder if we sort of strayed from remembering that we are a business, right? And our priority, my priority, and the marketing team's priority is the marketing. And they should bring more tourism, but it can also be used to bring individuals who are interested in opening a business. It can also be used to query the prospects we've captured and ask them what their experiences look like. We can do all of those things now that we've built a platform. And so going into year 2, those are the objectives. So when I think about that closed loop system, what I wanted to kind of cover is like, when you boil it all down, we are choosing to scale back on your primary source of income by over 30%. And the principle, we're kind of like on the precipice here of an economic downturn. And so when I think about this, again, looking at the data every day, you will see a decrease in EDC's income as a result of this decision. And those are the funds that you use to fund all of your other programs. The past couple of years were a huge boom travel year. There's been, you can look at that as your business doing a banner business, right? But spending less after a banner year is really not something I've ever seen, especially when it comes to investing heavily in new expensive programs, which will improve the product, right? But do not have a clear and immediate return on investment. What we're proposing here, what we've created, has an immediate real-time ROI. And basically, the more money you spend on marketing, the more money you'll make. That tenet hasn't changed. And so, when I think about this, it's just marketing is a budget that if things are working, should always be maintained. And the Woodstock merchants want more business. And that business is what powers all of the other EDC initiatives. So I would just kind of close and say, remembering that what we've created here is powering the 1% on options tax, which funds all of these initiatives. And if we don't spend money on marketing, people won't come and visit because the way consumer behavior works has changed.
No one is saying we're not spending any money on marketing. This is the problem. No one is saying that. No one has said that at all. It's just a question of degree, and no one is saying anything about we don't want tourism. Again, it's a question of degree. And if this is so important, why can't the merchants pick up there's a 19K that everybody is so upset about. Why can't the merchants pick that up?
Right. So let me just thank you for that, Charles and Susie. I think it's time for us to vote on this specific proposal, which is to approve or not approve a budget request of $119,996 to do the specific tasks that the marketing team has proposed.
John, Marion had to drop off. I don't feel comfortable voting. She said she had to go. She had her hand up for 10 minutes.
I understand that. And so, but I
don't feel comfortable voting, John. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way. I do not feel comfortable with it. I want the full membership.
You're not going to get that.
You were not, sorry.
Todd's not going to get that. Michael's not going to show up.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just say that that in order to pass this budget requires 5 votes.
Yeah, I'm back in. This is Michael.
It requires 5 votes, and I absolutely appreciate your discomfort. I understand. understand that. And had I known she would have to leave, I probably would have tried to call this. It's great that Michael can come back in, but it needs 5 votes. So as a practical matter, her absence, I think, will not change today's outcome. But what I just want to say is that irrespective of how we vote on this motion of $119,996, there's a lot more work for us to do on this.
Yes.
If we vote for it, I believe that and actually the work that we have to do is exactly the same, whether we vote for this or not. We, I think, need to take this discussion to the next level, whether we do it with a marketing budget in place or with this marketing budget in place, with a $100,000 marketing budget in place, or with a pause, whatever it is we decide to vote for after this. Because this discussion is, we keep having the same discussion. This one, I think, is the most informed that we've had. It's also the most, animated. And there is work that we can do to inform this. And so I think that work needs to take place. But before that happens, we need to vote up or down on this particular proposal. And that voting for this, we still have to do the analytical work, I think, to kind of understand what the future holds for the future budgets. If we vote against this, that doesn't mean we won't have a marketing budget. We can have another proposal today or at another meeting to have a $100,000 budget or a 102, whatever number we want to pick. So I just want to kind of lay the groundwork before we take. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the $119,000, and that doesn't mean I'm voting for it. I'm just saying the $119,996 for the proposal, the revised proposal as presented.
Second.
I'll second that.
Joe is second. All right. Is there any further discussion? And I'm strongly discouraging it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then all EDC members, all in favor, please say aye. Patrick. And if Larry, your hand is up. Does that mean you're in favor, Larry? I think Larry is about to. Oh no, he just took his hand down. So who's on video? Is Larry?
Larry, Patrick.
Just Larry. No, just Larry is. Oh, there you are. Okay, fine. So all in favor, please raise your hand. All right, all opposed, please raise your hand. And anyone abstaining? Okay, so we have not passed this budget at this meeting. Now, let's just have a brief discussion about, would someone like to make a motion to, well, it's not really a motion because it's not regarding funding. I think let me just ask, is anyone opposed? Is anyone strongly opposed to asking Patrick to come to see whether or not he can do what he couldn't do and may not be able to do, which is to come back with a $100,000 budget? Does anyone have a serious problem with that request? Patrick, you can come back and tell us it's not possible, but I don't want to have that debate now. I just want to get a sense of the committee. If Patrick came back with a $100,000 proposal, would we consider that? I mean,
No.
All right. Is there anyone else who would not consider it? I would consider it. Is there anyone else who would not consider it?
This is what I would consider. I would consider setting up some type of subcommittee of someone to answer the questions that we have brought up.
I understand.
And then
That work is
we can vote on it.
That work's going to have to get done anyway, just to
That's
be
right.
clear.
So let's get that work done first before we discuss how much or what Patrick can work.
All right, is there anyone else who would want to do that as opposed to I would be willing?
I don't
to-
understand what that is.
Well,
Can you explain what that is, please?
It's going to be a longer, trying to answer the questions, is there a way to have, what was Susie's words? Is there a way to have smart growth? Can we contain the kind of impact that we have? Are people having a good experience or are they having a
Oh.
terrible experience?
Exactly.
You're talking town
All of
stuff.
those things, the kind of questions that we're debating here.
I think the question that was aroused was, do we want more tourism? Less tourism? The same amount of tourism? How do people feel about the influx of tourism and the impact on our community.
And the process question that I'm raising is, because now that we've not approved this proposal, we have a choice. We can either, in the relatively short term, consider a proposal for 100,000, which it sounds like some people would be willing to consider, or should we say there isn't a budget, we've run out of funds this month, as when we run out of funds, and we will not reconsider a budget until we have the additional information. I'm willing to consider another. Sorry, I just want to ask
you got a couple hands up.
Yeah, so let's just discuss it's a process point. So so Larry, Todd, and then Beth.
Well, maybe you just covered it. I thought we heard from Patrick last time that we were running out of money, and I wanted to know, what the ramifications of not having a budget at all would be, and also, what are the ramifications of delaying this vote entirely? I don't know what those are.
Well, if we don't pass a budget today, as of February, whatever the last day of February is, we have no money in marketing, so everything would stop.
So I think we need to address that aspect.
Meaning we need to vote on something today. Is that what you're saying, Larry?
No. Or acknowledge that they're going to totally run out of money and what that means. That's all.
It means all marketing stops because I have no budget for anything.
Right. That's what that means. Agreed. Todd?
Yeah. Look, I would like to think about talking about approving some level of funding with the members we have left in the meeting so that we have gap spending, because I have full faith that Patrick and Charles will be able to keep hammering this down, because else it'll just go away and they don't want that. We don't want that. We have a lot of questions that need to be answered. I think we can have our cake and eat it too. I think we need to approve some sort of money, knowing that it's a maintenance cost while we answer some of these bigger questions, and that still has to happen in a steadfast way. So I would like to approve something like maybe a $25,000 extension coming out of this request that we're asking to be revised. I personally would also be willing to look at $100,000 proposal without getting into the weeds more. So that's where I stand. But I think it's important, per Larry's great points, that we don't put everyone in a stressful position where it's just negativity and it's the wrong direction for me. If we can get them something to keep them going, I would really be in favor of that.
All right, Beth, let me just interrupt because I have a way of, and I will let you make your comment. But so what we could do, this budget is $9,999.95. This budget is $10,000 a month for a year. We could make a motion.
Can I make a suggestion?
Well, Patrick, let me just finish. We could approve a $30,000 budget, which would give us.
I'm going to ask it a different way. If we can approve $100,000 budget, then I'll find some way to make it work. It may be turning off the program for the slow months or stuff, but I'll find a way to make it work.
All right, well, we'll let that motion come to the floor then. Just Beth, last comment briefly, because
my last comment, I've got two. The first is that if you do not pass the budget, the priority, the $7,200, which is Origin, which is
right, the website goes
which
down.
is the website, would go away, and that's nothing to do with marketing. The second, quick
everything to do with marketing. Go ahead.
Here we go. You're assuming that, and I'm sorry, Charles, that Charles is driving the marketing, and you're not taking into consideration everything else that's out there in the universe that is driving people to Woodstock, and that's not going to go away based on this marketing budget. Country Living is not going to go away because
Woodstock Inn's not going to go away.
Woodstock Inn's marketing drive is not going to go away. Billings Farm. So
okay. So we have two. So I think we're going to have two two motions on the floor. Can everyone who's on the EDC come back onto video? It's very hard to manage this. Is it just Larry? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So there's going to be two motions that I'm going to propose. That's one is to fund, is to recommend $100,000 of funding and leave it to the marketing team to adjust the various line items for a year. And the second is to allocate $30,000 for the next 3 months, and then we will define a concerted effort to try to, to allow them to proceed with this program for 3 months while we try to address the question. So I'm going to make those two motions. You can choose which ones. If we,
I would second this. I would second the $30,000.
Okay, so well, the
I'll
first
second
motion.
the $100,000 one.
Right. So the first motion I'm going to make is for $100,000.
Okay.
So I would make a motion that we approve a budget of $100,000 for the marketing group to adjust this proposal to achieve $100,000. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
All right. So is there any discussion? Hearing none. All right. All in favor of the $100,000 budget, please raise your hand. Say aye.
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 So one.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstain? Deborah,
I'm just
you're not sure? Okay.
I'm frustrated, but so I guess I'm on the side of that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that does not pass. All right. Then the next motion I would make is is a version of Todd, your suggestion, which is to fund the $30,000 for 3 months, an interim marketing budget to be used as intelligently as possible, presumably along the lines of this proposal, but we're going to give the marketing group the freedom to do what's best for Woodstock. And then to consider, further budgets in 3 months.
I'm
frustrated,
John. I'm frustrated because you told me if I came back with 100,000 budget, we'd be okay. I just said $100,000, so that we can continue this. I'll find a way to make it work, whatever we have to do. And now we're changing that. So
because we have to see it, Patrick. We just have to see it, and we can have time to have the community have the input on the key questions while you don't lose any time or treasure in running the program as you see fit. So it's really the best. I know it's not ideal, but it's the best version. This is going to allow you to keep pushing forward and allow us to hear back what we need to sell it to not only ourselves, but the community in general. Like we're here to support you, and I want to find a way to make it work. That's why I thought this maybe compromise could be helpful, because I trust that you'll spend this money wisely for the town. I really do, but I just think that we need a little more time to digest and to really see how it breaks down, and the townsfolk, I think, deserve that. But I have full faith in you, Patrick. I can't express it enough.
Yeah, I'm not, this is not about me. This is not about me. And I don't see it that way. And I appreciate you saying it's a wonderful program and all that. But to me, that's not what this is about. This is about marketing Woodstock and seeing it, moving forward.
All that.
I don't want to relitigate the substance.
I'm not trying to relitigate anything.
No,
I'm trying to make people understand. I understand we live in a tourist town. The tourist town is what drives the economy. It drives the businesses. It drives.
Patrick, hold on.
And that's the thing that gets getting forgotten here.
Yeah, I understand that. But we have a process point. Deborah, do you want to comment on the process?
Yes, I do. So to me, what we're saying though, and I'm wanting to find out from Patrick as well. I mean, whether we approve 30 or 100 right now, when do you need it? Which is part of, we need money right now for you. We know that, the gap. But again, part of the issues that we're having as an EDC is how the money and when it's going out. So this actually, I believe the 30,000 actually handles that, because you're not going to spend 100,000, over the next couple months anyway. So correct. So it comes to you periodically. You spend it. What do you spend of that a quarter? This should handle that. Yeah.
There are some fixed items, the Origin and Clavio. Clavio presumably could be postponed, Patrick. When does the Origins bill invoice come due?
I'm not sure when that's due. And that's a lump sum.
March 1st. Yeah. March 1st. Okay. It's telling us March 1st. So basically, if we don't approve at least 7,200, the website goes down on March 1st.
Right.
So So I think
My
that,
point is that this isn't saying no to the 100,000 at all. That's not what's happening with
right,
it.
exactly. All right, so let me revise this proposal, knowing that the Origins bill is due. I'm gonna propose a budget, an interim budget of $37,200, which allows us to keep the website running and gives Patrick 3 months to come back and develop what will be a $100,000 proposal. If he spends,
Second,
no, it's not a $100,000 proposal. It's an annual fund. It's a $37,200 motion. That will give him 3 months to come back, Patrick, and do what you said and what many of us said we would approve and what you said you could do. And it will let you do it without any particular disruption, because you should be able to afford, with the exception of Clavio possibly, keeping the program going at the monthly rate at which you need it to.
Probably has a monthly number, and it
Oh,
goes
okay.
up as we develop more.
Then you'll even be able to incorporate that if you want to. So, all right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that my proposal then is for a proposed 3-month budget of $37,200 to keep this program going while addressing the kind of questions that Joe has answered. If Patrick, unless you tell us that that's not physically feasible, but I think it is. Yeah,
No, I'm
okay. And I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
second,
All right. All in favor? Say aye.
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 I'm
Any-
abstaining.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention.
Patrick is abstaining. 1, 2, 3. I just want to make sure, Patrick, that 6. Okay, so we have enough votes. Okay, so now remember, we have to bring this forward to the select board, but we will do that. We'll get it on their agenda for the next Tuesday's meeting. And over the next 3 months, we're going to need a lot of people's help in addressing these kinds of issues and questions that we talked about. I don't want to do it this morning just because it's time for us to refresh, but I'm going to be reaching out to many of you to take on pieces. I will reach out to you for sure to take on pieces of these questions. I'm going to try to frame up the questions we've asked, and there's, inquiry and analysis and maybe a survey and things of that sort to really inform us for this next discussion.
Gotta go. Good job, everybody.
Thanks. Patrick, I'm sorry. I know you're frustrated by this, and so are, other folks on the other side of the argument, but I really appreciate the discussion. It was, I think really productive. I think we repeated a lot of arguments that we've made in the past, but I think the video of this meeting is going to be a really good compendium of all of the issues, including some new points that different. I remember Beth's point, I think Jill's point, other points that were kind of injected, some points that Marion and Susie made that were new points, and also, again, the points that Charles and Patrick made to explain the project. So I think it's a good meeting. It's a tough meeting. Thank you, everybody, and we have some work to do. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Before you, what's the number? What was the number?
37,200, which is the
Okay.
10,000 per month plus to be able to pay for Origin, so that doesn't
Okay.
reduce your ability to operate.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Is there a second? Todd, I think you seconded it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care. Here's the end.